Fish Champion. This week I bring to you not an intriguing review, nothing particularly new to browse through this week. Simply I'm going to reminisce about what were my top 5 favourite bands 20 years ago in the past. What blooming nonsense was I listening to as someone in their early 20s? What rubbish was I accepting back then, thinking that it was acceptable to listen to? Let's have a look at my top 5 bands in the early 2000s. First off, I saw 10 Foot Pole. It was one of the very first bands which I saw in a live atmosphere, and I was blown away by the precision of the band and the energy and the overall procedure of the situation. So what happened was I saw 10 Foot Pole live that one time. Not seen them again once, but I just could not get enough of the band. I bought loads of the clothes, I bought loads of their CDs, I was fully into 10 Foot Pole. It was definitely in my top 5 bands 20 or so years ago. And now you're probably wondering to yourself, how on earth can this very good guy follow up 10 Foot Pole with another band that might have been just as good 20 years ago? Well, my plain and clear answer to you is I possibly can't, because unfortunately I decided to start listening to Ben Folds 5 about 20 years ago. While I was on my world travels, I was listening to a bit more sort of laid back, interesting music rather than just plain punk music, and I listened to a lot of Ben Folds 5, which I enjoyed, you know, my walks along the beaches and that kind of stuff, but I don't really listen to it now. The breaking point was in 2003 or so, when Ben Folds decided to sign to Sony brand, and from that point I had no respect for him, and I could not listen to any of that naff new music what had that Sony marking on it. Rubbish. Now, also going back 20 years or so, I was a big fan of the Offspring. This was one of the first bands what brought me into the world of punk rock music, all the way back in the day. A great gateway band, and one that I played for my sons nowadays, if I were to think that they'd enjoy it and maybe get into more music in this genre. Particularly this album, of course, and the albums, before and after it. This took me through a lot of lovely days in the early 2000s. The Offspring. I was often seen wearing Offspring t-shirts and that kind of thing, you know, saying their lyrics to people, thinking it was cool, and you know, paying over the top amounts of money just to see them at a festival, even though I didn't like anyone else there. Silly boy. And also 20 years ago was about the time that I discovered the nofx band. The first time that I saw them was actually at the same festival which was the first time what I saw the Offspring. So I saw the nofx band, not knowing any of their music, but the one thing that stuck to me, actually 2 things what stuck to me. One was how funny they were between the songs, and 2, how good the song Idiot Son of an Arsehole was, which really stuck with me over the years. It's a, as you know, you probably know all about the nofx story, about how in the 1990s there were pioneers in not just their music, but in their attitude, their way that they didn't give interviews. They just did whatever they wanted. Nothing mattered. They just paved their own way, and unfortunately, shortly after the early 2000s, they took a nosedive and became one of the most generic, boring bands that you could probably imagine, who just sing about the same stuff over and over and over, and it's as boring as hell. And finally, in the early 2000s, when I was in Byron Bay in Australia, mate, I bought a Mad Caddies album on a whim, and boy was I blown away. I was already a kind of fan of Real Big Fish, so I bought a Mad Caddies album on recommendation from a friend, and I was blown away by it. It changed my life for a couple of years. The Mad Caddies were the pinnacle of good bands for me in the early 2000s, and then just one more came out that was so good, having already had Duck and Cover, Rock the Plank, Holiday's Been Cancelled. What a great time it was to be a Mad Caddies fan in the early 2000s. I have many very good memories of my days as a Mad Caddies fan. Something to be proud of. Not that you could be proud of it anymore, because if you were to wear a Mad Caddies t-shirt now, people will probably think that you were a fan of Americanised generic reggae music. which is something that I'm not. So I don't tend to wear Mad Caddies t-shirts anymore. They went downhill after the early 2000s, much like nofx did. Thanks for your time. That is the very good 5 bands what I listened to the most. 20 years ago, mate. We got Ben Folds 5, we got 10 Foot Pole, we got the Offspring, we got nofx, and we got the Mad Caddies. And as a secret optional other, I also listened to the Mad Capsule Markets a lot around that time, which, as you probably know or might not know, they're an electro, metal, punk, rap mixture band who all their songs sound pretty much different from each other. It's a little bit mad, some of their music, but that was a good time. I listened to them quite a lot back in the day, 20 or so years ago. Anyway, have a nice week, have a nice time. Don't let the Orson Welles lookalikes drag you out of your home telling you that it's 1985. Don't let illuminations light up too bright that they actually hurt your eyes, and don't let paint drip down your face and dry, because you'll be in for a tough time getting that shit off. Okay, have a good time, guys. Bye and hello, and bye and hello. And bye.
Thank you ever so much for watching my very good video. Don't forget to subscribe to the Very Good channel and come back next week for another very good video. A video to watch. Now, it's a good video.